and the recording will be stored in the protected area on the Oscar Kilo website, should anybody need to revisit it, and tell colleagues and such like about it. If you don't have an account already, you might need to create one, but it's really easy to do, and there's loads and loads of resources that are in there that you can have access to. So this afternoon, Dr. Jenny Burbage and Beth Canty from the University of Portsmouth are going to talk to us in relation to breast health and bra support. They've been working with us on a breast health project, and the idea of this webinar really is to share some key information around breast health, bra support, and a little bit about the research project that we've been doing. So we may have time at the end for questions. We'll see how it goes, and if we do, we'll get to as many of those questions as possible. I can put my email in the chat as well if there's anything that anybody wants to contact me about or chat about offline. I'm quite happy to share that as well. So without further ado, Jenny, I will hand over to you.
Excellent. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, fantastic. So good afternoon, everybody. As Yvonne said, so my name's Jenny, and we're here to really hopefully provide you with some useful information about the project that we've been conducting, and also to talk through some of the breast educational resources that have been created and are now housed on the Oscar Kilo website, and also talk about some of the rationale behind the project. And my colleague Beth, who's on the line, so she's been the research associate on this project, and she's been collecting some data as well to start understanding some of the kind of implications of how different bras interact with body armor and some of the questions. And I think we've kind of come up with more questions than answers potentially, but it's a great first step in the area to really understand what's going on. So we're based in, we're a research group in breast health at the University of Portsmouth, and we investigate lots of different areas of breast health. And my interest personally has been in the occupational space and understanding the needs of women who are potentially active in their everyday roles. So how the presentation is going to be sort of structured today. Firstly, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the problem, so why are breasts a problem, and then talk about the solution, importantly for that. Talk about some of the reasoning behind the kind of breast and bra education side of the project, and then actually give you a bit of a flavour of some of those resources. So talk about some information about, well, what is appropriate breast support and how do you get a good bra fit. And then Beth will sort of pick up then and talk about sort of the reasoning behind, you know, why we're looking at body armor and bra interaction, what have we been finding, and where do we think this project is going to go in the future. And as Yvonne said, very happy to answer any questions. Probably easiest to do that at the end. You know, feel free to put that into the chat or email Yvonne with anything. Okay, so starting off with the problem. So why is the breast a problem? Effectively, it's a very unique soft tissue for females where there's very limited sort of internal support. So there's no muscles, there's no sort of bones. The kind of the ligaments inside the breast aren't true kind of ligamentous material. So ligaments are actually very strong pieces of connective tissue that usually join bones to bones. We say that in the breast there's a term called the Cooper's ligaments, but they're really just kind of tissue in the breast that help from a functional perspective disperse through the breast. They attach to the muscle on the chest wall, and these Cooper's ligaments kind of disperse throughout the breast to separate the lobules where the milk is held as a sort of functional kind of aspect. So they were never really designed to provide the breast with support. They're there functionally to help ensure that if required, then the female can provide milk. So it's a complicated structure. This is a side-on sort of picture that you can see. So you can see that generally the breast kind of sits between roughly the sort of second and sixth rib. You have got some muscles. So you've got the pec major and minor that go where the breast sits on top, but that muscle doesn't really provide any support to the breast, and generally we say that the skin that overlies the breast does provide most of the support. So because of this limited sort of natural support, we end up with independent breast movement. I'm hoping you can see that video sort of working. This is something that was taken from our laboratory. So we're in a kind of a sports biomechanics lab where we've got these lovely infrared cameras where we can look at motion, and all those sort of green dots are small reflective markers that are placed over one breast. I think that's someone's left breast whilst they're running on a treadmill, and the blue marker is denotes where the nipple marker was. And this kind of video just kind of helps to kind of illustrate, well, this person is running with a poor bra, so a kind of a everyday kind of bra, and you can really see the kind of soft tissue deformation that occurs on heel strikes as they land on the floor, that the breast really moves around, and it really hasn't got a lot of support. So this is why we tend to then look at how we can protect and support the breast in the best way. So this is where the bra comes in. And other problems, not to be too negative about it, but alongside obviously the anatomy of the breast, there are other issues that the breast sort of causes. So we know that around 50% of the general population do experience some kind of breast pain, and whether that's related to the menstrual cycle, so on a monthly basis they might have hormonal changes that lead to breast pain, but also sort of persistent pain or intermittent pain that it's difficult to understand its source. So we know that there's sort of quite a few breast pain sufferers out there, but also exercise induced breast pain as well. So this is breast pain that is caused by effectively the breast moving in relation to the body. So we see this being reported when girls and women are exercising with very poor breast support. We then see reports of breast pain, and a way to reduce that is to enhance the bra support around the breast. We know that breast size is an issue as well. From a purely biomechanical perspective, if you increase the mass, then you're increasing the forces of the loads that breast mass has on the body. So that leads to all sorts of issues in the upper body, musculoskeletal system, so back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Quite often we find that larger breasted women can have sort of more likely to have a poorly fitting bra, and then with that can cause quite a few issues, sort of postural issues as well, and a lot of those are sort of long-term implications. So having larger breasts is certainly an issue. We know that the breast is a barrier for women to exercise. We see that all the way through the ages, so from schoolgirls through to kind of general and aging sort of populations, where our research has shown that actually it's quite highly rated as a reason why someone might choose not to exercise, because either they can't find the right bra, it's too painful, they're embarrassed by excessive breast motion. So there's a few issues around there, and then a kind of another element is breastosis or breast sag. So this is sort of related to maybe kind of more of the sort of damage of the breast skin. I mentioned before that the skin is the main supporting structure of the breast. So when we've done some research to kind of understand that, again, with sort of not having enough sort of breast support, that the breast skin can actually kind of damaged slightly, where the elastic kind of properties of the skin get stretched too far and don't go back into place. And unfortunately, as we age, this natural process of breast ptosis is going to happen, because the skin naturally loses elasticity from your mid-20s. So mid-20s onwards, we're kind of already on a bit of a decline in terms of the breast skin properties, but not, having lots of excessive breast motion can lead to this strain, this increased strain, which could lead to this sort of breast sagging kind of happening earlier as well. So lots of issues surrounding the breast, but there is a solution, not to be all doom and gloom, and this is appropriate breast support. So we know through our research that appropriate breast support can reduce pain. It can reduce the risk of damage to the breast skin. We also see that it can improve performance. So this is changes in some of the ways that we're moving when we're running, and doing different activity. We can actually, by wearing a good sports bra, we can actually do better, which is great to hear. But also it can, wearing a good bra can help to reduce embarrassment by excessive breast motion, improve your body image and self-esteem. So lots of good reasons to be wearing something appropriate. But I think one of the questions that kind of hangs over us a little bit in this kind of context is, well, what is appropriate breast support for work, and especially for work where you may be required to be active at certain points in the day, but not necessarily active all day. So it might be that you're sat in a car for a long period of time, but then you need to suddenly go and need to run or do something physical and then come back. So what does that mean? And I think that's kind of the overarching question. So I'll talk a little bit. So this presentation is almost a bit twofold. Firstly, it's looking at kind of the education around the breast and what we can do to improve it. And then the second part is looking at some of our research, thinking about, well, actually specifically in the police and when you have to wear body armor, what happens. So I'll talk a bit about the breast health education first. There has been some previous research that has shown effectively around 70% of police officers in the UK wear an underwired everyday sort of t-shirt bra whilst at work, and this is found to be unsuitable for most physical police activities, leading to discomfort, pain and sort of rubbing and chafing issues, so some soft tissue damage there. Also, this study found that quite a high percentage of sort of female police officers were found to wear the wrong size bra following a fitting, and this number is very similar to what we've seen in many different populations as well. So when we've actually been able to access the population and then do some fitting, we found generally the majority perhaps wearing the wrong size. So this certainly alludes to the fact that more education is required on how to fit a bra, and then what is appropriate breast support relative to breast size, to age, and to what intensity of activity is being undertaken. So certainly some good reasoning behind, well, what might we want to start providing this information. And then elements sort of more specific perhaps to police here is the underwire, and because we know the majority of officers are wearing an underwire bra, well, do we know much about an underwire is good for, especially for larger breasted women in terms of providing additional support, but then could that be a hazard in a work environment? And I think that's something that we need to explore a bit more, so leading again to the question, well, what is appropriate breast support? So this current funded project that Yvonne mentioned at the start, we started back in March, and I think the first issue that we were interested in addressing was that there was current at that point sort of no information on breasts or bras sort of provided to any female working in the police force, whether that's police staff or police officers. So our first port of call was to find a solution to that by providing breast health educational material via kind of the sort of a resource on the Oscar Kilo website. So that's what we've done, and this is the outcome of that. So if you haven't seen this sort of already, so the QR code that I put up, and I've put up on a few slides coming up, just link directly to those resources on the website. So we've kind of split the resources into two sections. Firstly, to look at, well, you know, just understanding the challenges, some of which I've outlined already, and the concerns, and then looking at the breast in terms of what changes happen at different times in the life cycle. So that might be pregnancy, that might be menopause, and how, you know, different lifestyle choices, weight gain, weight loss, how does that impact the breast, and what might we need to know about that. So there's a few sort of tips in there and thoughts about sort of breast pain and breast pain management, etc. So that's kind of in that first sort of section. And then on the second section is about, well, what is appropriate breast support, and how do you get good bra fit as well. So sort of delving a bit more into you know, some of the hints and tips for being able to do that. So that's there on the resources. And I just chose a couple of slides, or a couple of areas, I guess, to talk through today, because I thought that it might be a nice opportunity to kind of talk through some of the theory behind different bras, to sort of raise that awareness, but then always kind of channeling back to this resource that hopefully you can go back to when you want to. So I'm going to talk about sports bras, and I think when that initial research that found like 70% of women were wearing underwired bras in the police, there was about 17% of women wearing a sports bra, and I think I just want to caveat to say I'm not necessarily stating that sports bras are definitely the best thing to wear for all day, everyday kind of support. And I think this is an area we want to maybe explore a bit more, because you know, sports bras themselves are generally designed for sort of very high intensity but quite short duration activity. So some sports bras are kind of fine to wear kind of for a longer period of time all day, but they're not always as comfortable to do that, and that's the sort of reports that we get. So I think in an ideal world we would have this kind of idea of a more of an occupational bra, which was kind of better than an everyday bra, because it was more comfortable but more supportive in order to be able to cope with odd bouts of activity, but isn't necessarily like the very highest of the high sort of support. So I'll caveat that, but the next few slides just talk through some of the theory about what different styles of bras do and how they affect the breast itself, so that hopefully that will be useful when coming to kind of choose maybe products and bra products that you might want to wear that for work. So these are the three kind of broad areas and types of bras. So you have compression sports bras, encapsulation sports bras, and then what we call combination sports bras, which effectively have elements of both compression and encapsulation in them. So that's how we would categorize different bra products. So I'll talk through just from a bit of a biomechanical perspective what it is they do to the breast, and you know, hopefully you can kind of glean some information from that might help with your decisions. So the compression sports bra to start with is a very, very popular sports bra, sometimes sort of looks like a crop top effectively, especially with younger girls. We see coming kind of getting their first sports bras, for example, will quite often lean towards this type of product because it looks sporty. I will say that, you know, a lot of the high street stores will sell bras that look like this, but generally they're not particularly supportive, and I think it's kind of more of a fashion piece necessarily than a great piece of kit, but they are also quite cheap, which is a bonus for people that can't afford to necessarily spend a lot of money on sports bras. So pros and cons with that, but the idea is that this compression sports bra will effectively move the breasts and push them closer to the chest, so it compresses in using just this one piece of material, Now, that is potentially a very good way of reducing breast movement and therefore hopefully reducing kind of breast discomfort as well during exercise, for women who have a kind of more of a smaller kind of breast mass. And I've put a D cup on there as kind of, you know, less than a D cup, which I don't, yeah, it's not to be offensive to people in terms of saying, oh, you've got smaller breasts or larger breasts, but from a research perspective, we always have to have some kind of cutoff just to make it easier for us to do our research. And we found that generally sort of A and B cups and maybe some C cups, this style can be very effective and very well received. However, larger than that, generally this style of bra doesn't really work very well, and the reason why is because it effectively puts both breasts into one piece of material, so they move as one unit as opposed to individually, so that doubles the mass within that bra, and you know, it works well because you effectively reduce the distance that the breasts kind of are away, the furthest point they are away from you. So by moving that center of mass of the breast closer to you, then the movement reduces and it kind of makes things easier, which is great. But once you've got larger breasts, that kind of doesn't really work particularly well. And another issue we find with these sports bras is that they have to stretch. When you take them on and off, they have to go over the widest points. They've still got to go over your shoulders to get on and off. So by repeatedly doing that, we find that the lifespan of those bras are less because you have to constantly kind of be pulling and pushing them on and off. So they can be good, but maybe only in sort of certain sizes and in certain situations, but generally pretty comfortable because they haven't got any adjustability, they haven't got any clasps, they haven't got, you know, so putting it straight over your head, then great. But another thing from a fit perspective, so just, you know, taking size out of it, if you're 6 foot tall versus 5 foot tall, you might have the same breast size and effectively be wearing the same size bra, because these bras generally just come up as small, medium or large. So the strain and the tension on the shoulder straps for someone who's 6 foot compared to 5 is much different, and it will provide different support depending on your overall body structure. So again, sometimes not necessarily that great a fit for women as well. So that's compression. Encapsulation is more like what we see these everyday underwired bras providing. So they effectively work by lifting and supporting the breast separately. So it is a different mode of support because compression is really trying to compress towards the chest and sort of squeeze in, whereas the encapsulation bras are trying to lift the breast and support sort of separately and from underneath. So it's a different sort of concept of support. Generally, you know, it's a much sturdier construction than like an everyday bra. So stiffer materials can often include underwire, but there's more and more on the market now that don't include underwire, but might have some other kind of form of support. And we've found through research that this style of bra is better at reducing breast movement for larger breasts, so for sort of D and above roughly, in terms of reducing movement and discomfort. So, you know, by separating the breast with this style of bra, then you're effectively halving the mass that the bra has to be able to contain. So that's why it's better for larger sizes. So they're the kind of two key styles and ways of doing that. And then we do see quite a few of these what we call combination sports bras on the market, which do incorporate elements of both. So that there will be some kind of cup separation, but then there's also some kind of external layering to help compress the breasts. And we found some really good results with this. It can certainly reduce exercise-induced breast pain because by kind of at the same time elevating but also compressing the breasts. But it's quite style dependent. So I think, yeah, it's worth kind of looking around and seeing. We generally find these are more of the higher supporting bras for the higher intensity sort of activities, like designed for sort of running and jumping activity, for example. And then just before I I think move over, to the Beth section, just about bra fit, really, because this is probably one of the key messages we want to get across through the resources, and as I say, the QR code will take you over there. But we, really advocate, and we have done some research to show just how inaccurate using a tape measure is. Even just as a starting point, sometimes it isn't great. It's quite a confusing system in the UK. Every manufacturer sizes differently. You could go into a particular big named store that has lots of different ranges of bras, and even within the ranges within that store, you will be a different size potentially depending on that style. So because of that complexity, we really try and advocate that women are sort of taking ownership about really understanding how a bra should fit, and then being able to sort of effectively assess your own fit, so that if you buy online, for example, not all of us have time to go and have a nice fitting in a store. So, can we still be able to know what's best and where to start? So we have this sort of 5-step process. It's fairly straightforward. There's a few extra hints and tips online, but we always start off with the band. So the band is the first port of call. Getting the band fit right is the first thing you should be trying to do. So it should be able to come out no more than 2 inches if you put 2 fingers underneath and pull the band. So it is going to be fairly firm. It also needs to be level around the back as well. And I think quite often one of the biggest issues we see with poor bra fit is women maybe kind of overestimating band size, so wearing bands that are at least 1, if not 2 or even 3 sometimes sizes too big, because I think you put it on and go, oh, that's really, really comfortable, but then quite quickly through wash and wear that gets even looser. And I think sometimes having to go a little bit firmer initially and then wearing that bra in it's kind of helpful. But yeah, having a look and making sure that the band's level and firm, because that's where, in terms of the breast support itself, most of the support should come from. We shouldn't be relying on the shoulder straps. It should be at least sort of 80% of the support for the breast mass should be coming from underneath. So get that right. That's a really good start. And then once you've got the band right, you can play around with the cup, and that will be different depending on the style of the bra. So it's just good to understand if there's any gaping or if there's any sort of bulging. So our kind of 4 boob effect. So if the bra kind of cuts in and you can see kind of breast tissue come above as well as below, then that's too small. If you're seeing puckering and gaping, it's going to be too big. So finding a good cup size for you. If it's got underwire, it's making sure the shape of that underwire suits you and your breast root. So it's quite important not to have that underwire resting on any breast tissue, especially at the side. And it might be that some styles of bras, so I'm thinking like differences between, I don't know, a balconette bra or a demi bra or a full cup bra. I know for me, for example, there are some styles of bra I can't get any of them to fit because the underwire just doesn't actually fit me. So I think sometimes we forget that we can't necessarily fit into everything. So having a look and checking that underwire, making sure that that's not encroaching on anywhere, it is really important. And then if the bra has like a center front sort of panel, so if it's an encapsulating bra, checking that is sitting flat against the chest where possible, because if it's too far away, the likelihood is the cups are too small and the breasts are pushing that out. So having something that sits flat. And then finally to adjust the shoulder straps, and I think we're terrible generally at remembering to do that, but they're there for height. We're there, the straps are there to help make sure that the product fits correctly. So make sure that they're not too tight, that again you can pull them away, but they're not going to be slipping off your shoulder. And then I think once you've had a bit more kind of practice with that and checking through those steps, you get more confident about what sort of styles suit you and where you can go and what you can do. So so there's certainly a few more hints and tips online for that, and it's certainly an important thing to look at. So that's the education bit. I will hand over to Beth in a sec to talk about kind of the current project and what we're doing, moving this forward. So now look at, well, okay, so we know education is important, we can provide that, but what about bras and body armor, which, you know, the soft body armor that needs to be worn by the majority of officers on a daily basis. So we know that, you know, it's essential that body armor fits. We know that you know, physical, psychological comfort is important. This can affect performance. However, the bra type, so the ones I've gone through, so whether it's compression or encapsulation, whether it's got underwire, can alter the shape the shape of the breast, so the shape of that soft tissue. So that might then have this kind of interaction effect where it could add certainly discomfort when wearing body armor. So there's been some research to say, well, 67% of female officers that were surveyed in this study reported that wearing body armor with a bra was either uncomfortable or very uncomfortable, and that was regardless of all bra types worn. So the recommendations are not really clear, and we don't know, well, what might be best for that. So so that's, yeah, so this is the first issue. The second issue that we're looking at, hopefully my slides just changed, hopefully that works. Yeah, the second issue is, okay, so there's evidence that body armor can be uncomfortable and even painful when worn for hours. So we're trying to investigate that interaction of the body armor and the tactical vest with different bra styles and breast sizes to see how that goes. So I'm going to hand over to Beth to take you through just what we've been doing recently in that space. Beth, have you managed to take control?
I think that's why it's flipping on screen. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine. No worries. Carry on.
Thanks, Jen. Well, hi all, first of all. Thanks, Jen. Echo. Hi all. I'm Beth, as both have introduced me. Thank you very much. But I'm the research associate on the project. So I'm the one that's kind of been carrying out the research up in Lincoln. We've used a lab up there. So I'm just going to kind of talk you through, obviously, Jen's introduced it nicely, kind of the rationale, why it's needed, and then moving forward, kind of how we've done so, and then the next steps following that. So as Jen's touched on, kind of first issue is that idea of the information that we want to look at the breast and the bras together and how they actually, how they interact together, whether the comfort or the pain that comes from that, and actually what that does to the breast once you've put the armour on. Because we know then a lot of the roles the armour is a necessity, so how does that actually cause any differences there? So how we did that moving forward. So first of all, I say we were based up in Lincoln, so we used the Lincolnshire Police Force, and they kindly had 13 officers that took part. So we just used as many that were willing to take part. And within that, we had individuals who were anywhere from a 32 to a 38, and then anywhere from a B to an E cup size, and then 18 to 39 years. Obviously, the caveat of that, we know that that's not reflective of everybody. However, this was a small project just to get that initial finding. So we wanted to have a look at actually what's happening to begin with before we kind of expand that project and hopefully look at it a bit more. And ethical approval wise, you need ECG and all of these extras. And we also had those bra sizes already, which was really handy to be able to get people in for that. And then there was a £15 incentivization budget provided to those that took part. So not only to hopefully they get some great information to help in future of kit, but also they get that £15 there. And then that again comes on the back of that hopefully future research we can look to widen the age range and hopefully widen that breast size. So we did expand the age range in comparison to most projects to begin with. Sometimes we only got up to 35 years, but already even moving forward, we know that within the force there is obviously people that are outside those age range and outside of those breast sizes. So kind of hopefully those steps moving forward there. Images on the screen I'll kind of touch on as we go through the next slide as well, but just to say that we looked at different bra types. So as Jen touched on, we had a look at encapsulation, we had a look at the combination, and we had a look at an everyday underwire. We looked at different activities, so we had to think about, okay, what do individuals actually do within the role? So kind of that walking, possibly that run, and then maybe that jumping motion, jumping a fence, etc., if that's ever needed, but kind of also those different directions of movement for the breast tissue. And then, as I say, we used both a armour and tack vest. So if I talk about kind of PPE, that's kind of what it comes down to, that idea of the armour and the vest there, those interaction of those together. So initially we had, we wanted to have a look at breast movement. So we did carry out bra fitting for every individual before they came onto the treadmill and carried out those exercises. So as again, Jen touched on, we looked to kind of make sure we looked at the band, the cup, underwire, the front of the bra and the shoulder straps to make sure we had the right bra size first, so that wasn't going to be any kind of confounding factor there. We had a look at the breast movement, so you might hopefully be able to see on that video there's kind of wires there, so they're just kind of electromagnetic sensors, so they helped us have a look at that movement. So kind of first of all how much they're moving and how quickly that's moving, so displacement, velocity, and those accelerations, and they will be quantified using those sensors. And then they were placed on the middle of the thorax, so we could quantify that in regards to the actual individual, but also on all different boundaries of the breast. So you can see on the nipple, and then outer, inner, and upper boundary of the breast there. So we had a look at kind of all directions of that bra. We then, oops, not moving for me. There we go. Sorry, so the video is moving in the bottom, and you should be able to see that hopefully. So that was our lab setup. So you can see kind of the cameras on the wall. That was helping us detect the motion of the individual as well. So that's our motion capture system. So that's helping us to quantify the actual individual as well. So joint angles, etc., and then velocities as well of that individual. So you can see hopefully on the next picture, there's all the markers there of all the landmarks that we managed to quantify that individual. So then as we're moving forward for that analysis, we're quantifying those together. So how the individual movement is moving and how the breast is moving. We later added on the PP as well. So we had trials with and without the equipment. So you can see on the individual, I know it's going back and forth through the video, sorry. But you have to see on the individual that she's wearing that PP there as well. So we had that interaction both with and without, so to be able to tell the difference. And then at every stage of the testing, we had a questionnaire. So we had to see kind of a little example on screen there, but that was a case of asking the individual kind of their perceptions of that bra. So not only were we analysing the biomechanical quantifications, but having a look at actually how did that individual feel. So that's a lot of comfort, pain variables, suitability, support. And we had a look at that across each exercise. So say we did a walk, a run, and a jump, and that's both with and without that PP. So we asked that at every point there, so we can really assess and understand how that individual felt in different bra types and across different exercises. So we had essentially 6 exercises for each bra. So we had 3 bras, so your everyday underwire, your compression, and your combination, and then the 3 exercises of each with and without equipment. So thanks to the participants that came in for a long period of time there, but that allowed us to get a lot of data. So we are still in a little bit of analysis here, but moving forward to actually what we've found so far. So we had to see 62% of the participants that we had normally wore an underwire t-shirt bra every day. So that's kind of aligning a little bit with the findings that we knew before, but actually within the Lincolnshire Police Force, those participants that took part, 62% of those did wear the underwire t-shirt. And then 23% of those wore a non-wire t-shirt bra as well. So we know that already the majority aren't wearing that sports bra, but 15% did wear that sports bra on shift. 85% of participants reported breast or bra issues on shift. So again, a really large percentage there that weren't happy with their kind of bra support or had uncomfortability from some aspect of the bra. 39% reported underbands or the shoulder straps were digging in, and that was again a discomfort, but that was particularly with PPE. So they noticed that as they added that PPE on, which they had to wear on shift, there was no choice in that matter, that did increase their discomfort of those shoulder straps. And then the underwire bra was the most painful, the least supportive, the least comfortable, and the most unsuitable. So not much going for the underwire bra in regards to people's perceptions on that there. So those were some of the initial findings. And then just to put this into kind of a graphical aspect for you, some of the other questions that we asked which aspects of the bra were least supportive, and across all the different conditions, so that's all the bra types with and without that personal protective equipment, the underwire with the PPE was found to be the least supportive, which correlates with the idea that majority of individuals were wearing an underwire bra under their PPE. So that's kind of the least supportive there. And out of all of that, the cups were the least supportive aspect. And then for the combi bra, the lateral aspect of that bra was the least supportive there. So then we kind of again moved on to some more variables, and we had the pain scale here. So underwire again came up as the underwire bra, was causing the most pain, and that was specifically running within the underwire was the component that caused the most pain. And then you can see that the combi was the most supportive here. But if you actually look overall at the whole figure, you can notice how most conditions were in that lower half. So if we're on that scale from unsupportive to supportive, it's suggesting that actually a lot of those bras, apart from that combi towards the end, they were finding unsupportive. So kind of whether that's similar or dissimilar, but overall they were quite unsupportive there. So they weren't particularly happy with that. And then we moved on to comfort and suitability. So again, we had that kind of broad scale from uncomfortable to comfortable and unsuitable to suitable. And we noticed that as comfort increases, support increased. So as participants felt that the bra was more comfortable, they also found that it was more supportive. So if we were looking at those kind of higher support bras, so we're looking at the combi, then that was more comfortable. And then as the suitability increased, also the support increased. So as we were comparing kind of that combi bra compared to the compression and the underwire, it did seem to be more suitable for those. So that's kind of the findings we've got so far. Obviously, a lot of that was from the questionnaire that we had for each step, so a lot of information, a lot of data we came from that, but kind of those next steps and hopefully some more findings that we can bring to you at a later date. But we're still looking to analyse that biomechanical data. So again, coming back to those displacement, the velocities and the accelerations of both the individual's trunk and also the breast motion, in having a look at that interaction of those with the equipment. Having a look at that comfort perception, so how that perception actually aligned with what the biomechanical data is telling us. Having a look at those motion of the body and breast, again, so just looking at those individual, and having a look at how that varies, so whether that's across exercises or across bras or both. So we want to see, obviously, we know that individuals might not necessarily, depending on job roles, they might not have to carry out all exercises, they might not be jumping, they might not be running, so maybe having a look at that, and then obviously different bra types, what's suitable for there. So that's where those condition comparisons come on. Then hopefully after we've kind of gathered all that information, we can have a look at future recommendations there. So whether that is recommending those different bra types, but again, that comes down to the idea that we know there's personal preferences to begin with, and that preferences might be based on that occupational role. So depending on the individual's role, they might be used to having a set bra already, and people might tend to stick with what they know and that's what they enjoy. But then having a look at, okay, could we try something else, and how does that differ with your job role? And then obviously kind of dependent on the amount of physical activity, whether that's someone's age, breast size, or the intensity of that activity, that all depends on there. So that's kind of summarising what we've done and hopefully what's to show next. And that's kind of a bit of a whirlwind tour. So if anyone's got any more, obviously more questions as we come on to that, but that's kind of what we've done so far. And then I'll just hand back to Jen just to kind of follow up. Obviously, carrying all of that out as we went through, that did come up with a lot of questions, and thankfully we did have a lot of interest from individuals, but some of those might have been individuals that, let's say, might not match that criteria. So it allowed us to really have a look and dig into what is the need and what is the want out there for future research. So I'll pass that back over. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thanks, Beth. Yeah, just this last slide, really, just some of our thoughts about, you know, I guess research in this area, and sort of coming from the research and the people that we tested and what we've seen. So understanding more about what are female police officers' satisfaction with their body armor fit and function. So looking at their interaction with bras that we're wearing. We haven't really got that information from a UK sort of policing population. What I think certainly has come out as a few concerns has been the impact of larger breasts. So what does sort of breast size and how does that fit in with the body armor fit and function piece? So certainly some ideas around how we might look into that, and then the impact of body armor on mobility and performance during physically demanding tasks. That's again sort of linked in with how that is interacting with various sort of breast support as well. Is underwire safety wear on duty? There has been some work started on this in Australia, but it's been just very much at the beginning. So I think there's certainly scope to kind of look a bit more into the underwire piece, especially because we know through this study and previous research that this is still the most popular type of bra being worn. So it would be good to understand that a bit more, and whether we can make any clear recommendations on that. Question of, are current bras on the market really fit for occupational use, and if they're not, then is this scope for work with bra manufacturers to maybe be looking to develop new products that might kind of help to balance between the comfort and support element, if that type of product isn't already on the market? So that's kind of related to various recommendations. In terms of, and this is quite a broad, sort of point, sort of whether the police need to be investing in bra fit and issue service. It might not be something they need to do in its entirety, but is there some kind of help or a step further that's needed to help females make sure that they are kitted out appropriately? And I'm doing some work sort of with the Army currently where we have introduced a bra fit and issue service, and that's certainly not perfect, but we've certainly got some great recommendations from that, and there's certainly been a need for that identified, and now sort of all female recruits in the UK, army recruits, are being issued with sports bras. So is this the type of area that we're kind of looking at in the future for the police as well? So just a few thoughts on where this kind of area of research might go next, but that's it from us. And so very happy if anyone's got any questions, we're happy to answer them. So thank you very much.
Thanks both. Really useful points there, and good, I think, for everybody to kind of get a little bit of an insight into the research that's been ongoing. Lots of links there to the information on the website, so feel free to visit that and have a look and see what's going on there as well, which will just cover more of the information that Jen's provided for us. So happy for any questions. We do have some time for questions if there's anything that anybody wants to ask.
Silence, we stunned everybody.
Yeah, there's nothing in the chat in terms of questions. Oh, Kate's got her hand up. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, that was fascinating, and so much I didn't know that I should have known. First of all, are you happy I'm chair of the Women's Network for Cambridgeshire. Are you happy with me to share this recording? I'm assuming that it's going to be shared, or is this too early in the stage of your research to do that?
Is that for you, Yvonne, to answer? Because
yeah, I mean, it will be put onto the protected area of the Oscar Kilo website, and that's simply for it to be sort of protected for policing. But yeah, for you to use it in Cambridgeshire, however you see fit, then I can't see a problem with that, as long as Jenny and Beth, you're happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We did a talk for Lincolnshire Women's Network, didn't we, the other day? So yeah, this is kind of a nice piece, I think for those sort of groups. So yeah, always very happy to disseminate that information. So yeah, and I say we're kind of a work in progress with some of the lab testing, but from education side, certainly there's data you can share now, and then we can hopefully update if we once we've kind of finished the project and there'll be outcomes from that. So yeah.
And the other thing is, I know somebody's put it in the chat, I'll be really interested in your work with the military, because obviously in policing we're on tight budgets, well-being is really heavy on the agenda, but it is trying to obviously do everything we could for people who work for us, but it comes at a cost sometimes. So how you persuaded them to get involved with that and the costs involved in the service would be really gratefully received too.
Yeah, no, so very happy to sort of chat about that. I mean, I think we did some sort of initial work with the military, where we kind of really identified a need. There was a lot of bra issues going on, girls kind of turning up for training not wearing appropriate kit, and yeah, it was great to be able to kind of get a foot in the door there. And then she's still on a funded project with them to evaluate their kind of sports bra fitting and issue service, and that's an enduring contract now. It's just been renewed for another 3 or 4 years. So I think that's a great kind of model for kind of women in occupational roles. But that's almost kind of like the most, like there's other things you could do that aren't necessarily as full scale and as costly. So things like having bra fitting sort of available, even money towards bra products, even if they're not fully issued. There's kind of different levels and different layers to that all kind of link in obviously to overall well-being. So I was very happy to chat about sort of that in that area.
Thank you.
The last slide, Jen, the one before, Deb, do you want to come on and just mention your comment in the chat in terms of the points, the bullet points?
Hi, Debbie.
Yeah. Am I on mute? I'm back. Hello.
You're there. You're there.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Hello. Yeah, I'm currently on mat leave, so I'm probably almost a full year out of date on this. But yeah, within DSTL, the Defence Science and Tech Lab, we have a couple of different projects and programs. Obviously, since the Women in Ground Close Combat review, where every single role in the military was opened up to every female, body armor fit, breast support, and generally female PPE has become forefront of everybody's minds. So yeah, we've got a few programs and projects running on this, some of which I know we can share, and some of which, for obvious reasons, we can't at the moment. I'm not sure what's been released at the moment, so I shan't say too much. Again, I am about 10 months out of date at the moment, but back in February. Yeah, so I know that we've got a crime and policing program running at DSTL, and obviously plenty on PPE and female fit in general. So very keen to get in touch with everybody when I'm back in Feb. And if you ping me an email, I will read them occasionally and forward on to the appropriate people if you need a response before February. So thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. It's great
That's
to
great. Thank you.
Yeah, so Debbie and I were PhD students together a very long time ago.
So long ago. Oh my goodness.
Very long time ago. But yeah, no, Debbie, I've been chatting to Nikki Armstrong at DSTL about potential opportunities. So yes, we'd love to keep you in a loop with that. I'll send you an email as well. So.
Thank you.
Fab. Great. Any final points or questions from anyone then before we wrap up? No? If not, then we'll finish there, and I'll just say thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon. Thank you so much, Jen and Beth. Really informative session for everybody, and some great information there to share. So do visit the Oscar Kilo website. There's lots of other stuff on there that I'm sure will be of interest as well in force. So thank you again, and we'll catch you on another webinar, I'm sure, in future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.